Welcome to Bottle Rocket with Elena Sucheva, your top hockey podcast. Hey, Bottle Rocket listeners, welcome back. I'm Elena, joined as always by Stan and Jerry, and today we're excited to welcome back George Falkowski, four-time New York Emmy Award winning journalist, author of Ballpark Therapy, and a professor at Kean University. Welcome back, George.
Hi, nice to be here. I dressed for the occasion. We'll be getting into that in a moment. I know Stan and Jerry will love this especially.
Show us. We don't see it.
We can't see it.
Yeah,
What is it?
We got to show it off?
Yes.
We have a special sidebar today. I want Stan to check, we got this.
Oh, yay.
But I wanted to do a thing about like great hockey names.
Yeah.
And I've got a list here from Bleacher Report with the top 25, and I can't believe this guy came in 17th. Can you see it?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Ron Tugnut.
Yep.
The amazing
Well,
Ron Tugnut, ladies and gentlemen. I worked his 70-save game at Boston Garden in 1991. I was at the game, and he stopped 13 shots in overtime, including Ray Bork on a slap shot from 20 feet with 5 seconds left, and Cam Neely screening him. It was the greatest goalie performance I've ever seen.
Mm.
Except I haven't seen Jerry play, so maybe he would have done more for me.
The greatest one was Sam Lopresti of the Blackhawks. Would have been 40-41 or 41-42. Here's the story of Sam Lopresti. First of all, he's another great American goalie from Minnesota, along with guys like Jack McCartan, Frankie Brimstick. You go up and down the line. And most of them came from the city called Eveleth. But anyhow, Sam Lopresti made 82 saves against the Bruins. And then he enlisted, this is the beginning of World War II, beginning for America. He enlisted in 1942 after the season in the Merchant Marine. Now, that's the most underrated part of the American services. These poor guys were going across the Atlantic day after day, night after night, between England, and there was some going to Russia. It had to go to Murmansk. It was so tough. And at the beginning of the war, they were getting knocked off by the German submarines left and right. So the deal was that these cargo ships that were essential for England and Russia maybe made the difference. There were no maybes. Anyhow, Sam Lopresti was what they called an armed guard gunner. So every one of these ships had one big gun, just one big gun, but they weren't manned by the merchant mariners. They were manned by American Navy men. They were part of the Navy, and they were called the armed guard, and these guys were handling the gun, the one gun. Well, Sam Lopresti was on one of these ships. I don't have the name handy, but I wrote about it enough. And it was torpedoed. And the ship sank, but they managed to get enough lifeboats over. And I think the lifeboats handled 20 guys. And now they're in the Atlantic. They got 20 guys and 19 guys plus Sam Lopresti. And they weren't getting picked up right away. And things were getting worse and worse. They didn't know nothing to eat. So Sam Lopresti got this cockamamie idea. Every one of these lifeboats had some sort of anchor, a little anchor. And Lopresti figured they could nail a dolphin or one of the big ones. And he threw the damn thing over, and they caught a dolphin. And they also had a little heater in the thing, so they were able to cut it up, and they were eating dolphin. How many days? I'm telling you, can you imagine 42 days in the Atlantic, and they finally landed. They weren't rescued. They landed on the shores of Brazil. How about that? And he never, by the way, by the by the end of the war, Sam did not come back to the NHL, but his son, Peter, wound up with Minnesota. So that is the.
There you go.
That's the other thing is about the Quebec jersey. My wife Shirley and my son Ben and Simon went to a game when they had a big festival or something, and they came back with a jersey. And Simon has a tattoo, fleur de lis, from that trip. So that's what that jersey.
Oh, we need to see the picture. So Stan, what I want to do is nice. Well, what I want to do is I did a little homework, and Bleacher Report, like I said, they rated Ron Tugnut as the 17th best name in hockey history. Now, there's a bunch of guys on here that we all know. Jerry, you'll know all these guys. Alina, you'll know some of these guys. I've got stories on some of them. So I'm going to give you number 23, the great Bruce Shoebottom, who played like 35 games for the Boston Bruins, and he's played more games for the alumni team, believe it or not. He had one goal. I was at the game, and the Boston fans went crazy. They were throwing stuff on the ice, and it's the middle of winter like it is today, about 20 degrees in Boston, snow on the ground. And somebody in celebration took his high-top white sneaker and threw it on the ice. So I don't know how that guy got home that night, but that was the great Bruce Shoebottom. You have any Bruce Shoebottom stories? Probably not, because
yeah, Bruce Shoebottom. Everybody said that Bruce Shoebottom was a heel.
Okay, I've got a devil guy for you. He comes in at number 21, and I love the name because it was so big they couldn't fit it on. They'd have 4 jerseys to get his whole name on it. Pierre-Luc Letourneau Leblanc with the Devils, and the fans shortened it to PL3. But he was a big guy, big tough guy. He didn't play a long time, but Pierre-Luc Letourneau Leblanc, I think he's the only player in hockey history with his first name and his second name hyphenated. Do you remember Pierre?
Yeah, remember him. I called him Blondie. What the hell more do you want?
Okay, we got one of your favorites. I got to see what number he is on the list here. Number 13 is Brad Bombardier.
But he was on, I think it was on one of the Cup teams. He was a great guy. He's a great guy. And my nickname, since his name was Bombardier, I nicknamed him Pilot.
Oh, funny. Good.
Pilot the Bombardier.
Okay, got number 14 for you. We all remember this guy. Pilot the Bombardier. Larry Playfair. Great hockey name, you must admit.
Oh, yeah. One of the best, and he was not a very fair player. I think he was a little bit on the dirt, but what the hell?
Okay. Well, there's Tugnut. Oh, and this is, I'll tell you what, this one means a lot to me. They ranked at number 18, Merlin Malinowski. Now, it's significant to me because it's a Polish name. He was my first favorite Devil when they moved to New Jersey. He scored the game-winning goal in the first win ever. It was against the Rangers on October 8th, I think, 82. He was leading the team in scoring after 5 games, and they traded him to Hartford for Rick Mahar. What are you doing? He took my favorite guy away after a week and a half.
Correct me.
You remember Merlin the Magician?
Correct. Yeah, Merlin the Magician. That's right. That's what was the name. Rick Mahar was a damn good hockey player.
Can I take a guess as to what the number 1 name is? Boomer?
I never would have guessed it, but I know what it is, but you can go right ahead.
I think it's Bart Crashley.
He's on the list, but it's not Bart.
It's not number 1? Oh, man, that's the best name ever.
No, according to this, hang on, I got to get back into this thing. The internet is being a little sticky today. Père Hughes, did I pronounce that correctly, Stan? Père Hughes. I got to see if I can spell his name for you.
You really butchered that French.
Calling up the list here. Excuse me. I'll give you another one in the meantime. And again, it's another great hockey name, and we all know him. It's Lindy Ruff, and I'll keep looking for number one. Lindy Ruff, another great hockey name.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong. Crashley's on the list. Absolutely.
Who put
And
this
Lindy
list
was
together?
rough. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, who put this list together?
Bleacher Report.
They don't know what the hell
Bleacher
they're
Report
talking.
put this list.
They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Number one,
They don't have Sprague Cleghorn. Come on, man. Where's Sprague Cleghorn?
and they don't have the Dipsy Doodle Dandy from Delisle, for crying out loud. Max Bentley.
Uh-huh.
Oh, now I'll tell you what. This is a great hockey name, and we saw his kid play last night for Lehigh Valley, the Phantoms Flyers AHL. Radek Bonk. Is Bonk one of the greatest hockey names of all time? And now his kid's like one step away from being a Flyer.
His father was good. His father was good. Remember?
And this guy, I got another one for you, which this I have a great personal story. Darren Rumble, right? Great name. I'm down in Tampa for the playoffs in 2003. Stan was down there too, Devils. And we're in the dressing room after practice. Tortorella was the coach, and he had this thing where he made sure that the carpet had a logo of the team that was 80% of the carpet. And I'm just standing in there, and he says, and all of a sudden this voice goes, "Hey," he goes, "get the F off the logo." And I look around, and it's Darren Rumble is yelling at me. So I walk over smiling. I go, "What are we talking about?" He says, "Oh," like he smiled. He said, "It's just a respect thing. We're trying to, build respect for the logo. I know the Torch had a gigantic Rangers shield in the Rangers dressing room in New York." And I'm like, if you want people not to step on it, why do you put it in the middle of the floor? And I eventually did a story on it when I was at News 12 about the Devils dressing room. And I had my camera guy just focus on the logo. Players would walk around it like they didn't even see it. Some of the press knew, but occasionally, and you've been in there, maybe Jerry, you've seen it, where somebody steps on it, and there's like designated policemen on the team who'll yell at you if you step on the logo. Jerry and Alina, you've been in a ring yet? Any of you guys step on a logo?
You never step on a logo. You have to do push-ups if you do, right? It's
That's
bad
right.
luck for the team.
And you never throw your sweater on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was our big one.
Right,
Was
the sweater never goes on the floor.
Yeah.
This is Dumb and Dumber, and one of the teams, I don't know which one, has moved the logo up to the ceiling.
I think Chicago did that too. Hey, they got number 6 is Miroslav Stan, who should have been a Devil, and he never was.
Yeah, really.
Good player.
You thought Lou would have had a sense of humor and brought him in, but he didn't have a sense of humor. So no Miro Shatan for the Devils. Garth Butcher's on the list at 5. Zarly Zalapsky at 4. Hakan Lube at 3. You got to clear your throat when you say that. Hakan Lube. That's a great name. They got Jeff Bukaboom at 2. I think that's a little high. Maybe the guy that made the list was a little high. And let's see if I can hold the name up for you if you can see it. There's the name of number 1 on the list.
I can't make it out.
Pear
Juice.
Yeah.
Well, it's P-E-R, first name, second name, last name, D-J-O-O-S, played 82 games for the Red Wings and Rangers in the early 90s. And they said he pronounced his name Pear Juice. There you go.
Pear Juice.
Listen, this is very important. This is very, very important because we're talking about a player of note virtually torpedoing his team, and you know who I'm talking about. So take it away, George.
Oh, we're going to go from crazy names to simple names.
Jack Hughes.
Stan and I had shared some emails with this. Yeah.
I can't remember a single player in a situation akin to the Devils who were riding high, and this guy does some cockamamie thing. I don't know if you know what it was or what. And he got badly hurt, and the team plunged, and they haven't recovered, and they're not going to recover.
That's right. No, and in fact, he came back and he got hurt again, like his brother. I don't know what they're made of paper mache. That's what they're saying. The thing about Hughes is, and again, I'm going to be very honest about the Hughes thing, is that I'm not out there covering the team anymore, okay? But I have friends who were there, people who are around the team all the time. And you began to hear stories, 4 or 5 years ago when my students would go to Devils games and they say, Jack never comes out. He never does interviews. And when he doesn't, and when you'd see him do an interview, it was like somebody was pulling his teeth to do it. He would answer questions in 5 seconds and leave. And Stan and Jerry and Alina, you probably know this too, that in hockey, we're so spoiled in the media because hockey people are so wonderful to deal with. And when you get a guy like this, again, I can say the spoiled American, that whole thing that everything is kind of paid for them. We had a guy like that when I was in Boston, and Craig Janney, who was a real pain in the butt to deal with, never wanted to do anything. When they traded Janney, by the way, to St. Louis for Adam Oates, I wanted to follow the car to make sure he got on the plane, and they shut the door behind him, and I could drive Adam Oates. Adam Oates was sunshine and cupcakes compared to Craig Janney. And so Jack has always had this attitude. He's very disrespectful, very abrupt and condescending to the media. So something happened in the restaurant in Chicago. They won the game in overtime. All right. Simone Nemec scored the winner. It was hat trick goal. First Devils defenseman hat trick since our old pal Uli Hemer, right? In like 84. And the team, I think, was 12-4, and something happens at the dinner. Now you hear stories. I'm not repeating them for Brooke because I didn't see it. I don't have a firsthand account of what happened. But the team said anything, it could happen to anybody. He slipped and fell and cut his hand on a piece of glass. Now, if you know anybody that's ever worked in a restaurant, anybody, the minute a glass hits the floor, 8 people are there to pick it up. They don't wait. So my first question is, how do you almost sever your entire pinky tendon on a piece of glass if you slip and fall on it, number one? So there's more to the story. The Devils gave the company line, and what shocked me is that this modern era of journalism, and now I sound like the crabby guy shaking his fist at the clouds. How come nobody's pursuing the story? They're just like, oh, he just slipped and fell? Okay. And there's no investigation. There's nobody asking questions. There's nobody going to the restaurant to find out who saw what. And, he stays out. He comes back, give him credit. He wore the brace. He wasn't playing well, but he had the thing on his hand. He gets hurt again. And now he's out. But apparently he's going to be okay for the Olympics. And you have these games this week that they have to win to stay in the fight for the playoffs. He's the no-show. We mentioned this before we started recording. Mike Rupp had a wonderful portion of his podcast on last night where he talks about, and again, I'll defer to you guys on this too, and he said it's 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000. If a player's hurt and the doctor's trying to say, well, he's not ready. If the player goes to the coach and says, I'm playing, he plays. If the game is that big. And the comparison that Mike made was that earlier this week, Brad Marchand has been hurt. He's going to go to the Olympics. Florida's teetering on the edge of elimination. And in the morning skate, Paul Maurice says he's out. And then at 5 o'clock, he's in. And he plays the game 10 minutes tops. Who scores the winner in the shootout? Brad Marchand, against his old team, by the way, the Bruins. And Mike made the great point. If you're wearing an A or a C on, you got to be a leader. And my opinion, just from a distance, watching it and talking to people who were there, he's not. I've also heard that there is a fracture in the dressing room. Again, I can't say it's 100%, but that the Hughes boys may be a little upset with other guys for not waiving their no trade clauses so the Devils could get Quinn to come in. And I've said this from the beginning. I think if Quinn's a Devil, it becomes the cool kid table in the cafeteria when you're in junior high school. And you're going to have the Hughes guys, and then you're going to have the rest of the guys. So I don't know what's going on with that. I think they're a big problem. That's my impression for the team. Social media seems to be turning on Jack a little bit, maybe a lot actually, because why isn't he trying to play in games they need to win? But he's going to be okay to play in the Olympics where he's not getting paid? I don't get it. So I think that's the real problem. And then there's a chemistry problem. There's probably a fracture in the room. It's too much for Keefe to handle. I'm just guessing again. I'm spitballing. All right. I know baseball starts this week, so I'm spitballing. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything fall apart like this. And you just get with that much talent, they can't score. There's no spirit. The crowds are like zombies. The team plays like zombies. I can go for an hour and a half, but I don't want to bore you guys. So that's my take.
What was the rumor? What happened to the end? Drinking accident or?
Yeah, I can't get into that. Hockey players, who knows? Don't know. I can't. Even if I knew it as 100% fact, I wouldn't say it because I personally can't prove it. But there is some really juicy rumors flying around, and I might not be a employed working journalist, but if I was, I wouldn't run with it unless I had 3 sources like the old days. I won't do it. But you get these guys think they're invincible. I won't be colorful. I'll use the initials. You're giving 21 and 2-year-olds FU money. What are you going to tell them? Here's $8 million for 7 years when you're 21 years old. They just gave Luke was 7 years at $9 million. That might be the worst contract in history. If it doesn't pan out. Simone Nemec is a better defenseman, and he's on the 3rd year of his rookie deal. He's playing like a $9 million defenseman when he's healthy, not Luke. Luke has been brittle, and his confidence seems to be a little shaky. I saw him play in college. He's the goods, but it's not working. Why isn't it working? What's going on that we don't see? I'm not in the room. We're not in the room, but there's a chemistry problem on that team. There's too much talent for them to be this bad. So.
Well, speaking as a former player, I have seen it where one bad egg in the dressing room can rip a whole team apart because then it divides the team, and then nobody's playing for each other, and the thing that surprises me most is that Quinn Hughes, the oldest of the brothers, is such a good person. He's such a stand-up guy, and he's quiet. He leads by example. He doesn't, there's no attitude to him. There's no guile, and I don't know why he doesn't call his brother on the phone and tell him what for, because, Jack, I've seen him interviewed. He is like arrogant and pompous, and he doesn't realize that the press is a necessary part of the game because they are the conduit between the players and the fans. The press doesn't ask them questions because they want to know. They ask them questions because we want to know, what their views are. And these guys just don't get it. And I don't know much about Luke. I haven't seen him too much being interviewed, but Jack, you can just see he thinks his
he's the biggest of the 3. If you watch the team on a regular basis, is that Jack and Luke think at times it looks like they're playing pond hockey. That cute little backhand, no look passes get picked off. The other team knows it's coming. Jack trying to skate through 3 guys at the blue line, and he can't do it or pass across the ice through 3. You can't do that. It doesn't work in the NHL. Even the 4th line players are too smart for that. They're not going to fall for that stuff. And it's like we also there's a joke that the Hughes brothers are going to open a bakery right downtown Newark, and they're going to specialize in turnovers. That's the gag. So the Hughes brothers bakery is in full op, and now both guys are hurt again. So I know they value Luke. I don't understand after a rookie contract how you give a guy 7 years and $63 million. I don't get it. Yeah. But I think the whole plan was to get Quinn to New Jersey. I think read and talked to people that think ownership really wants that. The fans think it's really cool. I think it's a super bad idea. I really do. That's me sitting in Western New Jersey, and again, not covering the team anymore. I'm not out there on a regular basis. You can just feel the tension at the rink. The spirit seems to be on. I don't know what to say.
And that's the problem with giving these contracts too, with no trade clauses and no movement clauses, that, a player has a bad game, he knows that there's no consequences. The only hammer that the coach has is ice time. You take away a guy's ice time, and coaches seem like reticent to do that for whatever reason, even if it's for the betterment of the team. The Rangers have the ultimate problem. They're loaded with these contracts that have no movement clauses, and they can't move any of these players out unless the players agree to it. And there's no consequences for bad play.
Great. It's just the beginning of what's going on 8th Avenue.
I have to tell you something. The Rangers situation is absurd, and the reason why it's absurd is the same as the Toronto situation. You have the two richest teams in the league, Toronto and then Rangers. But the fact that you have these rich teams, that doesn't mean you have to throw the money around at these guys. Today, so many of them are spoiled rotten. We already did Exhibit A on the Devils, and a guy like somebody should take that kid in the room and say, "Look, this is not This is not Toronto where you're selling out every game, and this is not Madison Square Garden. The Rangers selling out. Wise up, wise up." But when if you got a guy, if you and you know the word you've taught long enough, there's such a thing as a spoiled brat. Get these spoiled brats, I mean, plus, like you were saying, George, you were so bullseye with that. There's no tough media. Nobody, what are they saying? I don't know what these guys are saying. And you don't have the last paper you had was the Star Ledger, and I don't know whether they were online or not, but I mean, there's no pushback.
You got a couple of writers in New Jersey, a couple of regular writers that show up. One's for NJ.com, which is technically the Ledger. Our old buddy Mike Morial is still out there on a pretty regular basis. But what you have, especially, it's making me crazy, is first of all, you have reporters, air quote reporters, who work for the team. So they're not going to ask hard questions. They're going to ask, hey, what'd you think of how so-and-so made that save? You're going to get the puffball question. Because you can't, because you're working for the team. Even when I was with the Bruins, you had to be a little careful because they had part ownership of the team. So you can't start digging when you work for the team. The other thing, and you've all seen it, it's called fan-generated content, where if I could sit and I could spin my thing around, put a couple of bobbleheads up, and now I'm a journalist, right? Now I'm a journalist because I have a podcast, and I teach a podcasting class at my university. And the first day I say to the students, the great thing about podcasting is that anybody can do it. The worst thing about podcasting is that anybody can do it. And if you're not studying, if you're not following the team, if you're not getting into the stats and following the articles, and so you have all these kids who never went to school for this. I mean, look, I'll do a little tushy kissing. I learned at the feet of Stan and other people because you saw how they did it, and you saw how they interacted and how they did their work and how they were dedicated to research and having the stats. Elena, the way you prepare for a show, Jerry, the way you guys get ready to do this, you've got all your ducks in a row. Now you got 22, 23-year-old kids getting press passes to hockey games. I think I told you the story. There was a guy who got, it might have been the Hockey News, maybe not. They hired a young guy to be the Rangers stringer. And the story I heard is he shows up day one at the Garden wearing a Rangers jacket. Can you imagine walking into an Islander game or a Devils game? I'm like 22 and going, I'm working the game. Where's my Devils jersey? Even if you're rooting for the team, you got to pretend you're not. You got to look like you're not biased. And so Stan knows it. You guys, I'm sure, know it, that when I was working covering the Devils, sure, you want them to win, right? The 3 Stanley Cups, the 2 close calls. But when they don't play well, you still have to be able to call them on it, right? I'm working for the Red Sox or the Bruins. You want them to win. Okay, because it's your team you're working with and you're around the team and it's the local team. But if they don't, you have to be able to say, this is wrong, that's wrong. The coach might be Jack Hughes might be a problem. Fans don't want to hear that because Jack's cute, he's talented. It's starting to turn now because it's like, why isn't he playing? Oh, he can play in the Olympics, right? But he can't play for the team that's paying him $8 million a year. They couldn't have put, like Mike Rubb said, they couldn't have put Jack on the power play in the last 2 games. Just have him out there for 10 minutes. Maybe he makes a big assist or a big goal. But back to the original thing here, you have people showing up to provide coverage. If you go on Google and type in Devils, Bruins, Maple Leafs, Canucks, Rangers, look at the articles and see who's writing them. They're not hockey journalists anymore. They're not. They're not people who've learned how to do this and learned how to interact. teams don't even send their crews on the road half the time anymore. That's where this whole game, the whole business is built on relationships. And it's what you hear at the morning skate or in the press room before dinner. And you got teams not sending their crews on the road. And you got 22, 23-year-old kids who like follow the team, who are writing articles, and somehow that's journalism. I'm gonna have to go outside and get some fresh air. Just kidding. But you get it. It makes you crazy. It makes me crazy. You got me all fired up, guy. The current this one thing. The current group of people covering the Devils. The Devils said, "Oh, Jack slipped and fell, cut his finger. Could have happened to anybody." And everybody went, "Okay." How do you just get okay? How come somebody hasn't been to Chicago and gone to the restaurant and pretend to be a customer and start asking questions?
You don't know what happened, and nobody would probably disclose it, right?
No, I think I'm lucky to be on the back end, because this stuff it just makes you crazy. It really does. It's ask a question. Can you ask one question? And then if anybody says to Jack, like, "How's Luke?" or "How's your hand?" he does this. He goes, death stare. "Oh, sorry. I can't ask about your brother and how he's feeling. Can't ask how your hand is." For the days of the Quebec Nordique, Stan. Let's go. Go get a Labatt and go. We'll get up there.
Let's talk Olympics. I'm picking Finland to win.
Oh, Finland.
Ooh, dark horse.
I'll tell you something.
I bet I know who Elaine is.
Hey, Jerry, they're not a dark horse in Helsinki.
You got to think Canada is the favorite with the roster they have. Their only question mark is goaltending. Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill, and Darcy Kemper.
Isn't it always?
But the thing is, like, Canada hasn't produced true star netminder since Carey Price. There used to be like a factory of great goaltenders coming up, like Patrick Waugh, Marty Brodeur, all these great, Carey Price, all these great Canadian goaltenders, but we haven't had one since Carey Price, so, we've had good goaltenders. I mean, Darcy Kemper and Aiden Hill are Stanley Cup champions and whatnot, but they're not true superstar goalies, so, that's the only question mark I have for Canada. The U.S. team, I think, is, they got a lot of question marks, I think. And so I think Sweden and Canada in the final.
You're entitled.
Yeah. I'm entitled. Yeah. Well, I'd like to tell you a story about.
I think USA is leaving too many good young players home.
Well, so is Canada. Connor Bedard stayed home.
Who do you think is missing on USA team?
Well, Robertson is missing, for one. He's one of the top goal scorers the last 3 years. He's not there. I think Perfetti was left off the team, right? He's a U.S. kid. It's like Billy Guerin, and we all love Billy, is bringing in the band that we're used to. And now he's got Jack Hughes on the team for whatever reason, and we're just waiting for him to get hurt. And then, he hurt his knee again. He's out for the rest of the season. There are some young, super talented players, I think probably for Team Canada too, that they're leaving off because they want the veteran guys. But the veteran guys haven't won on an international stage, have they? So, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, I think I'll probably watch the Team USA documentary from 1980. I know who wins that one.
Yeah.
I like Finland because the kids,
I gotta look it up.
Goalies seem to be consistently good, and we know the Finns can skate. We know we've had a lot of great. But my thing is that the foreign or the European coaches starting to outsmart the North American coaches. I think the coaching and the goaltending will give Finland the edge. That's why I'm picking them.
Yeah, and Finland does tend to play a defense first
Okay,
system.
I have to say I misspoke. Perfetti, I mixed him up with Cole Caulfield. If I could just correct myself, I got my guys mixed up. I meant to say Cole Caulfield, not Perfetti. But again, where are the young guns? Where's the future of this league? And this is it. Who's going to carry this league into the next century, or the next half of this century? These guys, and they're not. A lot of them aren't there. It's sad.
What possible reason could they have for keeping Cole Caulfield off the team? That guy's been amazing all year. Man.
Jason Robertson. What has he done the last 3 years except score 40 goals? You don't want a guy like that?
It's a mystery.
And I'll ask you that: how much politics goes into the? And Terry, you might know this too. How much politics goes into these rosters? Who's buddy and who's got a connection and
yeah. Elena and I were talking about that prior when we were live on TikTok. That politics has no place in sports, but it rears its ugly head no matter what. Humans are human, and they hold grudges and they create blacklists, and they like these players and they don't like those players. So it's a shame. You wish you could have like an AI, pick the team, so to keep the human element out of it, but the powers that be are, I got to admit, they're usually smarter than me, but I have questions and there are things that I'll never understand. And if I get them in front of me, I will definitely, invade their personal space and ask them these questions. But man, it's, Cole Caulfield, that is a mystery.
Let me ask you something before, let me preface it. Am I right, Elena, and am I right, Jerry, that when we had Bobby Holik on, that he said the Olympics should go back to the old way? Is that what he told us?
He was kind of 50-50 on it. He said there was good points for both, but with the NHL in, you get the best players, but with the NHL out, it kind of creates a more fair.
Sorry, it was Chico Resch. Chico Resch was the one who said it. And I agree 100%. These guys, first of all, they have this breakneck schedule that they had to compress it. Secondly, February is the most important part of the home stretch. And the injury factor is intense. For what? When you had the amateurs, there was some special quality that they had. We saw that in 1960 when the American team with Jack McCartan and the kids from West Point, and they won the gold. Gold. Then they come back in 1980 and they win the gold again. That's one of the greatest stories, not only in hockey history. So what? I don't think I'll tell you something. The owners don't want it, but they had to compromise with the union, and you get 4 or 5 of these superstars. What the hell do they care about injuries or not? They're rich beyond all beliefs, but it is what it is. And then we're going to see what happens. I say as soon as we do a show after the Olympics, we're going to have to talk about the injuries, how it's going to affect it. Right? One more point, and that was the All-Star game. And the first official All-Star game was in 46-47 season, and it was held at Maple Leaf Gardens. And the third best player on the Blackhawks, you had Max Bentley, Doug Bentley, and Bill Mosienko. Mosienko broke his leg. The Blackhawks, it was before the season. It was done. And now you see injuries all over, the crazy injuries, all kinds of. It's all because of the schedule on these dopey goalies with their butterfly.
Well, I think the biggest reason, it's funny, I tell my students this. There was a great radio talk show host in Boston when I worked up there named Jerry Williams. And he once said to me, I met him and he says, George, he goes, there's only one job in the business. What is it? And I'm like, I don't know, to be creative. And he says, no. Is it for this? Tell good? No. He said the only job in our business is sales. And the reason I believe that NHL players are in, more people are going to watch, the ratings go up, the ad rates go up. They make more money with the NHL players because if it's a bunch of college guys from Boston University and Wisconsin watching, how many Americans are going to watch the game? If you got, amateur players, Canada might be a little more crazy, but you get it. But the NHL guys are there. People are going to tune in. That's ratings, that's ad revenue, that's big money. And I think that's the reason they're doing it, because they're making, and they don't care about the game or the legacy of the game. They want people to watch. They want to make their money and move on. We should do a whole thing about streaming services, by the way. That could be the next one, about how you need 8 streaming services to watch every football game in the United States now, because you can't get them all on NBC and CBS the way you used to do, or Fox. It's a cash thing. And you're 100% on the schedule. These guys are playing every other night. There's no practice time. Guys are getting hurt because they're pushing it too far. But they're making money. So that's, I think, all I really care about. They're making money. People are going to the games. They're watching the games. They're buying the streaming, and they're going to tune into the Olympics because the Canadians have their pros and the U.S. has their pros, and to an extent, Finland, Sweden have their pro players too. So
earlier we had Alan Creda on, who wrote the book about Ken Morrow, and if you read that book, it was incredible the way that team played like 80 some odd games before they even got to the Olympics. So they lived together, they practiced together, they ate together, they became a real team, and there's got to be an advantage to that system, rather than pulling an all-star team together at last minute, giving them 2 days of practice and letting them go. I mean, the product is great, but I think the results would be better if we could go back to that system. I mean, there's an argument to be made for sure.
Yeah, it's a good argument, but George tops it. He tops it with money talk.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are not in this business, even though they're billionaires. They're not in the business to lose dough if they don't have to. So, it's an argument for both sides, and I say no, but they'll say we want to make more money, so go make more money.
Yeah.
Don't come to me. Don't come to me with the guys are getting hurt and hurt out. You guys want to do it, so you got to, do the consequences. If you don't mind, George, I have to repeat this gag because we're talking about injuries. So this guy goes to his doctor, and the doctor says, "What's the story?" He says, "Doctor,
I'm ready."
What's the punchline? He said, "Doctor, what should I do? My leg hurts." And when the doctor says, "Limp."
Well, the brother I'm thinking of is the one where it says, "Doctor, my arm hurts every time I do this." He says, "Don't do that." And that's it. So
earlier we were talking about Jack Hughes and his kind of attitude, and maybe the team doesn't like him. And I remember when I was playing in Saskatchewan, we had a guy who was kind of on a hot run. He was scoring goals every game, and he was kind of letting everybody know, and he getting a big head about it. So his line mates decided to teach him a lesson. And so the next goal he scored, he puts his hands in the air and he turns around. All the other players on the ice were already back at center. Lined up for the face-off, so they didn't congratulate him. He learned really quick that he was being a jerk. So sometimes the players got to let the other players know.
The best hero story.
Yeah, we know that's not happening in New Jersey.
No, it's quite the opposite. The great hero story was Dickie Moore. I consider him one of the greatest, if not the most underrated great players of all time.
There we go.
And Dickie Moore injured his arm early in the season. Could have taken the season off. They did some, whatever they do to make it at least a little bit stronger. And Dickie Moore played the entire season with this serious injury. And guess what? He won the scoring championship.
Mm-hmm.
But Dickie Moore The closest guy I could think of to a Dickie Moore would be Brad Marchand, just off the top of my head.
Mm.
And I'll give you the opposite. The whole opposite is to the entire Ranger team is on the other side. I call them, I'm christening them. They are now the New York Pathetics. I don't know what the hell to say about the Maple Leafs.
I give to say that I brought back one of your old stand stories the other day because I'm watching the Devils and they 45 shots, 1 goal. And I said to my friend who was texting and complaining, I said, well, as Stan wrote famously, they couldn't hit water if they were shooting off a pier. And that brought me back to, I think it was the Red Wings player. I did the cartoon in one of your books about the player who the writer said couldn't hit the water if he shot the puck off a pier. And they actually brought him down to the East River, you said. You can finish that story because I forget the name of the player.
The guy was Fern Gauthier. In the war, during World War II, he scored about 15 goals for the Rangers. He still finished last. And then he was traded. No, he was with the Canadiens to the Rangers. And then he was traded to the Red Wings. And when he got to Detroit, his number of goals had gone down, and he hadn't scored any goals. And he had been a pretty good goal scorer. So somebody said this guy, one of the broadcasters said, Fern Gauthier couldn't put the puck in the ocean if he was standing right at the edge of a pier. So the guy who wrote that, Lou Walter, was asked, about it, and the story got around the league, and the Rangers PR guy, Stan Saplin, said, what a great thing. We bring Fern Gauthier down to the edge of the Battery, which is by the Atlantic Ocean. We give him a couple of pucks. We see if he can score from shooting it off the pitch. Now, there are 2 versions of the story. The fun version is that he missed on the first one because when he shot it, a passing barge came along and it landed on the barge. The second time, it was in the air and some seagull grabbed it thinking it was something to eat. But he got it on the third one. He got it on. Great story.
And there it is. How about that?
That's one of my favorite.
Now, wait a minute.
There's
the cartoon.
I'm glad. That's so great. Nobody does stuff like that, George. You're inimitable. You are inimitable.
Are you going to show us your Boston Bruins jersey?
Oh, you want the Bruins jersey? Here, you want me to drive it crazy or watch this? Hang on. Here you go, Elena. This is just for you because I know that it's your favorite player. So there he is.
No, thanks.
I don't want you thinking about Game 7 or any of that overtime or 3D. There you go.
You just love to rub it in, yeah.
We're trying to set it up so Elena and I can be at a Bruins Maple Leafs game in Boston and see how she does. That would be fun.
Guys, I have to go, but I want to. George wrote a great baseball book. Tell him the name of it.
I got 2. You guys actually were very nice. Yeah, Meet Me at the Bat is one, and I got my little mini bookshelf over here. Oh, here's the new one. Ballpark Therapy. It's about all the reasons we go to the baseball stadium, and not just for the game, but either as therapy for yourself to get away from stress and about life and about bills, or it could be a place where all the memories come back. I know that one of the things I want to do this summer is maybe I'm going to go to see the Chicago Cubs, but only 3 hours away is Dyersville, Iowa, and the Field of Dreams. And I want to drive out there, play catch, stand by the corn, and see if anybody comes out. I don't know. It might be a little scary, but I can do it. But yeah, I got 5 ex-major leaguers in here, including Wade Boggs, some personal stories. And then the Meet Me at the Bat is good. And I think the first hockey book is going to be Meet Me at the Rink, which will have stories about that young man, Mr. Fischler, and others from my days with the Islanders, Devils, and Bruins, and all the fun we've had over the years. And it continues with you guys today. I love it.
Baseball story. During World War II, a lot of baseball guys were in the service, and the New York Giants, who played out of the Polo Grounds, which was like it was like a football field, and it was 505 feet to dead center. And the Giants didn't have a pinch hitter, so they sent their scouts all over the continent. They couldn't find any, except a scout in Mexico said he had a horse who could hit the ball a mile. So they thought it was a joke, but Horace Stoneham goes down to Guadalajara, Mexico, and there is this horse, and he's hitting balls all over the place. So they bring the horse back to New York in a cargo ship. Nobody knows about it. And they take him to the 69th Regiment Armory with one of the Giants' best pitchers at midnight. And the horse is hitting the ball all over the place. And now they decide they're going to keep him on the team, but stash him away and make sure it works out. And sure enough, they're playing the Dodgers, and they're losing 2-1. It's the last of the ninth, and they decided to put the horse up to bat. First pitch, he knocks it all the way to dead center, 502 feet. And the horse starts, cantering around bases. And then the center fielder gets the ball. The second baseman goes way on the grass. The pitcher goes to second base. And meantime, the horse is going around and around. And now he's past second, and the third base coach is yelling, "Run, run, run," because by this time already, the center fielder's got the ball. And now the horse is going by third, but he's just kind of taking it easy. And it's relayed from the center fielder to the second baseman to the pitcher. And the pitcher now tosses it home, and they get the horse out by about 3 yards. And the manager's going crazy. Everybody's going crazy. The third baseman's going crazy. And coach goes crazy. Your manager goes up to him. I think it was Millard. He says to the horse, he says, "For crying out loud, we're yelling. Why didn't you run? Why didn't you run? Why didn't you run?" And the horse looks at him. He said, "If I could run, I'd be at Belmont." Okay, gotta go.
She was done.
Thank you so much, George, for coming back. Big thanks, as always, to Maeve and Jerry, and to everyone listening and watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to Bottle Rocket, follow us on socials, and we'll catch you next time.